Coming to you live from the Stream.tv studios in Hollywood, California, Pensado's Place is brought to you by Vintage King, the Blackbird Academy, Avid, Recording Connection, Studio 202, Slate Media Technologies and Slate Digital, and Audio Technica.
We've got rock royalty in the house, ITL Part 2. The Pensado Awards countdown is absolutely on. We'll bring you up to speed. You're at the place. It is Pensado's Place.
Yay! It's going to be a good day today.
Yep.
Man, so much going on. I don't know where to start. First of all, thanks for dropping by and hanging out with us. Promise you're going to have a good time and learn a lot. And Herbert, how's your week going so far?
You don't want to know.
Well, I asked the question, but now that you mentioned it, I really didn't want to know.
It's, it's insanity. It's good insanity. But me and a whole bunch of folks on our team are going around the clock. I think Chongor left my place last night about 2:30, helping out Karen, and 2:30 a.m. It's insane, but it's exciting, and I think we're gonna have a good evening about a week from now. So,
yeah,
it's been a 7-month obsession.
It seems like all our buddies and friends of the show and people that we actually are doing the show for are understanding and getting it, and helping out. And
When we get to
people, good bunch of guys. Yeah, do it, my friend.
All right, cool. Hey, everybody, great to be with you. Hope all's well in your world. You can imagine, as we just talked about, it is stone crazy in ours. So let's take care of some business. Your likes and subscribes are just awesome. Thanks for your diligence with that really important process. Dave and I cannot thank you enough.
True.
Our partner sponsors are deep in the trenches with us. They're in those trenches all for you guys. Vintage King, the Blackbird Academy, Audio Technica, Avid, Slate Media and Slate Digital, and Recording Connection have been nothing short of phenomenal. They make sure we can come to you each and every week. Speaking of the Blackbird Academy, get yourself activated on the Blackbird Live Experience opportunity. It's pretty simple. Submit your email, become eligible to be selected for a pro-level sound check and front-of-house experience with an absolute superstar artist and a superstar mixer. That guy is John McBride. You'll meet and learn from him. And he's not just a master of mixing. He's a master of a whole lot of stuff. Sit with him while he does his magic. It's real hands-on, up-close and personal experience that, needless to say, I think is a really, I think we both think is a rare opportunity, right?
Hell yeah.
That's a hell yeah from Dave. There are a number of cities and dates that you can see right here. That to be applicable, just get your emails into karma@theblackbirdacademy.com. That's CARMA at theblackbirdacademy.com, theblackbirdacademy.com, sorry. And one of the things that we talk about with Blackbird, and also Dave and I talk about, is the live space is really a vibrant, growing place, a place where they're hiring and employment opportunities exist. They utilize cutting-edge technology. So if you're thinking about career choices, this is one you might want to investigate.
Totally agree.
Going further into that, the Blackbird Academy still has seats open for their July class. They're doing 2 different classes. One is on studio and also live. So both those focuses are there. If you're a prospective student, a parent of students who have to make a decision, we highly recommend that you at least do the research and find out. I think you're going to go down and do a lecture during that session, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And Carmen and I were talking just the other day. I may come down and do one on business affairs, management decisions, and the like, because that's also part of the process that you have to get. Again, emails into karma@theblackbirdacademy.com, CARMA. Do not blow that opportunity. It's a really, really cool thing.
Am I eligible?
You're not eligible.
Will I ever be eligible for anything?
You will. We've decided in 2015 we're going to figure out something that and it's just going to be you by yourself, just you and a microphone, nobody in attendance, but you'll be eligible, which is something you're used to doing.
That's so sad, Herb.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm being a bad partner.
I think you guys need to write in about this travesty that's going on
That's
here.
being enacted upon your person by me.
You know what, I just had a thought while you were talking.
Sure.
There's a couple of things that kind of go under the radar that are really good training, and a lot of our guests have mentioned this. One is doing jingles early in your career. Mm-hmm. You learn how to do stuff fast, efficient,
Speed,
and how to deal with clients.
Yep.
and live.
Yeah.
I mean, I got my start doing live music, and not my start, but I learned a lot being self-trained with the help of a lot of great people, and a lot of our guests started live. So
And the live experience, what I've learned from our guests, it never goes away. It's always
well,
applicable
it seems like
someplace.
you hit the nail on the head. It seems like things are heading that way in terms of the biggest opportunities.
Yeah, no question about it.
For new entry level people.
Absolutely.
And John McBride, man, I just say his name and learn stuff.
Well, and the fact that he continues to go out on the road, continues to do that stuff. You know, a lot of folks get to a certain point and they don't have to do it, and he's steeped in the craft.
He loves it.
So great opportunity for you guys. Take it. Now moving forward, we're in final countdown for the Pensado Awards. By the time you view this show, we're about a week away. Needless to say, Team Pensado is absolutely bananas. As I alluded to earlier, Chongor was at my place last night around 2:15, and we were communicating with the rest of the people that were up. But all that said, we are super excited. We're on pins and needles, and we really do anticipate a great time. Our nominee slate is all fixed. It's been voted on. It's being tabulated. The nominees are confirming their attendance along with a lot of our other guests. Folks are coming in from all over the planet. It certainly feels like our community, which is your community, they really have bought into coming together and honoring each other and you guys and for the artistry you all possess. That's really why we want you to join us. I don't know if there's another celebration like this, but I know about ours, and we want people to be part of that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Pros and amateurs.
Exactly.
Enthusiasts.
It is absolutely the family.
Yeah.
Dave and I really want to thank all of you guys who kicked this off early with your contributions, all of our audience out there who did that. You were patient with us while we worked through the process. I can tell you it's an enormous undertaking. You don't get everything right the first time around, but we could not have started this off without you. And then bringing up the rear, all these great companies that you see right here, these supporting sponsors, an amazing array of companies and entities that care about our space, they care about the space they're in, and they've gone the extra mile to make this thing a reality. Couldn't do it without them either. Details.
No doubt.
No question about it. Details for the big event. Saturday, June 28th at the beautiful Fairmont Hotel, 1 block from the beach in Santa Monica, California. The co-hosts are the rock and roll acronym known as CLA, that's Chris Lord-Alge, Latin pop princess Marcela Arequia, gifted chanteuse Lisa Loeb, and the hip-hop don straight from New York City, Young Guru. It's going to be cool. The after party in the Pensado Playhouse, it's going to feature Young Guru on the ones and twos. His manager said, you know, Guru's a musicologist.
He is.
He is, absolutely is. And he is going to rock that place across the whole music spectrum. If you need more info, go to pensadoawards.com. Ticket buying, hotel options, start times, locations, anything else you might need is right there. Lots of questions about dress, so let's make it simple for you. Just rock and roll dress up. Put a little swagger, put a little edge to it, make it hot. That's men and ladies. Do your own version of it, whatever it may be. Our line producer has a bet, Karen Dunn has a bet that a lot of folks are going to do T-shirts and jeans. I think she's completely wrong. You all prove her wrong. Bring your best game. Have fun. Don't go broke doing it. We don't care about the money. What we want you to do is have fun. And what we want is the television pictures and the photos and the viral stuff of showing our community at its best. And we're going to show the world, which is what we do every week, just what this is about. Go hot, hot, hot. Remember, this is a celebration. You're honoring you. You're honoring us. We're honoring our peers. We're going to come and party. David is prepared and partying. He's actually getting drunk damn near every night just so he's in practice.
Got to stay in shape.
Yeah, got to stay in shape. Yeah. Your commitment as an athlete is just, it's done better. And then finally, how do we close out the evening? Booties bumping, mascara melting. That's absolutely right. Believe that. We're almost there, gang. Come join us. DP, what's our ITL this week?
Well, we've got part 2 of the recording connection into the lair where we went and shared some time and spent some time with John King at Chung King. He's going to continue a little bit of what we were talking about last week and then a little more emphasis on mixing this week. Take it away.
Cool.
That brightness that everybody likes on condenser microphones can get a little over bright if you use it too much. And that subtlety of a ribbon microphone, you can always make it brighter. You can always make a mouse bigger, but you can't make the elephant smaller, which is the size of a microphone, right?
I'm stealing that too.
Yeah, well, you know, it's like, I mean, I talk about this all the time. It's like if you want to get a rock vocal in through a track, you make a baseball, like throw it through the trees, it makes it through. Take a beach ball, throw it through the trees, it bounces off the leaves. So you don't want a huge signal. You don't want a huge signal. You want a small signal that's nice and clear and loud, which is why I like the 421. I mean, one of my other favorite microphones for this that I'm not up here today is a Beyer M88. It kind of does everything. It's like a really good dynamic microphone that doesn't have overshoot. And you find that sometimes it's the overshoot of the condenser microphones which makes it difficult in digital, because digital is it's unrelenting in its clarity, including its top end, spurious distortions and stuff. So I like to teach people that different microphones do different things. And when you start to put together your dynamic platform together, you might find that your SM57 is the microphone. You might have a really expensive microphone in the closet, but the SM57, as you know, the SM7. I mean, like Michael Jackson, what was one of his favorite microphones? SM7.
Yeah.
Right. And he sounded pretty good, as I remember.
I always say that my island microphone would be the U87, but I'm starting to rethink that. I'm thinking maybe my island microphone, if I'm stranded on an island with one microphone, I'm thinking it would be the SM7. I think I'm starting to change.
I always said if I had only one microphone and that's all I was allowed to have, it'd be a U87, and then I decided it would probably be the SM7 and the U87. Well, you know what? We've known each other for a short while, but
That's wild. Justin, what's your opinion about what you're learning? Are you finding this eye-opening or what?
Oh, it's extremely eye-opening. I mean, when I started doing music, I had very little knowledge of everything I was doing. I used a Rode NT2A, which is a cheap microphone condenser, and ever since I met John, I mean, I've wanted to get my hands on every different kind of mic I can just to hear and experiment, because I was the kind of person that threw EQs and the compressors, everything I could get my hands on to make it sound as best as I could. And now I know that's not the case.
And there's nothing wrong with being a digital freak. That's fine. As long as the output product is fine. He's actually very good at doing his home recordings. But what I thought was funny, I gave him a ribbon to take home. And he brought it back and he said, he says, I can't get it to work. It's all dull. And I'm going like, well, where'd you put it?
Right here.
It's like right here. That's like, no, put it over here. Yep. Turn the gain up. Use a nice, like today we're using Wonder mic pre's. I just want to give a shout out to Wonder mic pre's because I like them a lot. It's kind of like a Neve mic pre, same dynamic platform, same slight compression, but nice bandwidth,
That must be amazing to have John King trust you taking a microphone home. That's got to be amazing.
No, it's definitely a big honor. I mean, his son's in the corner over here, and it's hard for his son to take stuff home, and sometimes it's crazy. It's still the fact that I was able to bring something home, I was like, holy crap.
He also helps me clean up my studio.
Yeah, it's like,
well, you gotta pay a little extra to get access to the king.
That's right, I guess so.
Yeah. Well, you know what? He's neat. He's precise, and I'm glad to have him here today because he's a fun person to work with because he likes. I mean, I use really simple concepts to describe very complicated physical processes, like spectral density. Most people are not that into spectral density, but they do understand the balloon. It's the same thing. One is pneumatic, one is electronic, but it's the same thing. The balloon. That's my favorite. It's like when you hear Avril Lavigne's vocal track, they squish the balloon really flat, And
what compressor do you like in conjunction with the three mics that you showed us for vocals?
I didn't use any compression today. I always start out with an LA2. I mean, I always start with one, but these days I just go to the 660. The 660 has an LA2 in it. It has a RCA in it. It has a Fairchild in it. It's got all the modelings, and the modelings are actually accurate. I mean, just because Greg is a friend of mine doesn't mean I still don't think he's a genius,
So, Justin, from what you've heard today, and let's say you had to record a pop vocal, which of the mics would you choose and why, based on what John taught you?
With what John taught me, I'd probably start with the 5040 just because I love the way it sounds. I'm a bright kind of person, though. I like that bright tone. But the 521, or the 421, my bad, is probably my second go-to mic. Out of the three here, the ribbon's my last just because I don't like that muddy sound. But John can tell me all day how he wants me to back up and stuff, but I'm going to stick with the 421 or the 5040.
Yeah, see, he hasn't learned what a ribbon really does yet. So the thing is, and that's fine. The fact that he's just heard the 421 just in the last couple of days, and it's already in his mind. And
No, I liked it. Really sounded really nice in here, at least. I mean, I've never used it in my home studio, but the 421 it sounded amazing in here today. I like the mid-range how it pushed through.
Well, Justin, I'll give you a little piece of history. I was always terrified of ribbon microphones because when John and I started, you could put them in front of a guitar amp and blow them up real
Yeah.
easy, and it was, and we did, and it was very expensive. So it was, and then if you accidentally left the phantom power on, you ruined them, all sorts of things. So ribbon mics when I started were this voodoo thing that not too many people in Atlanta had, and they scared me. So I'll admit that my assistant Cole is a ribbon mic aficionado, and through Cole I'm starting to get comfortable with ribbon mics. It's part of my repertoire that's lacking behind. In terms of mic and guitars, I'm pretty good with ribbons, but the usage is in other areas. So don't feel bad, Justin. It'll come. It'll come.
hear ya.
well, the one thing
It came late to me
I
too.
didn't go over today because you don't see like Todd Rundgren in the old days. We used to use a half-inch, condenser microphone, like a 451. I would use a C28 with a gold foil capsule with a C28 head on it. But it's a very nice sounding microphone, and it does not have the resonations are all up in the 12 to 15K range. So it's got a whisper to it instead of the larger capsules, which have a thing. But we didn't go into that today because people don't normally use half-inch, capsules for vocals anymore. Although sometimes it's the right mic.
That was always my go-to mic for acoustic guitars and overheads. That was my acoustic guitar and overhead with a 10 dB pad for overheads. I used to love that mic, or still do actually.
I spent a lot of time picking really good sounding cymbals, and all of a sudden I realized I wasn't getting the sound. So now I've got a pair of Royer 122s overhead, and
Oh, okay.
and I love them.
You agree with that, Justin, or you disagree?
Well, he's the one who's actually playing the drums, so I don't know. I'm curious to see what he says.
Uh-oh, look out. All right, John. Justin, why don't you do this? I was going to ask John to kind of wind up. Why don't you wind up what we learned today and then let John critique it and tell you what you did well and what you did poorly. So you got 60 seconds. Go, Justin.
All right, so we have condenser, ribbon, and we have a dynamic mic. The condenser is really bright. The ribbon is more muddy. You back off it sounds better. You put something behind it, it helps the sound. You got to mess with it. The ribbon's a little bit harder to work with. The 421 pushes through. That's the dynamic. They all have their different tones, but you pick, you choose. Be the producer for yourself.
How'd he do, John?
Well, he's not getting the second part of the whole thing, which is if you put in 100% on a condenser microphone, you generally get out about 100% plus maybe a little. On a dynamic microphone, you're getting about 80%. So you're getting a little bit of actual spectral compression. On the ribbons, you're actually getting a smaller version of the whole thing, and they are harder to use. And once you get them, if you ever want to record high-frequency instruments and percussion, pull out the ribbons because nothing else is going to get it.
Everything we do, we use the ribbon.
Like
as far as the tambourines.
he played tambourine on something recently, and I had a 49 out, and then I said put the Royer up, and the difference was like listening to keys drop or listening to a beautiful tambourine.
Let me toss something in, Justin. If you're going from LA to Vegas and you're riding on freeways, a Bentley seems kind of nice, but if you have no roads and have to go all dirt, a Jeep's looking pretty good. There's no good mic or bad mic or good gear or bad gear. It's just different uses for different types of equipment, and sometimes something that you just labeled as bad sound actually sound appropriate on some things. So as you start this journey in audio, there's a use for everything. So I try to eliminate good and bad in terms of descriptions, but more how they are used and what they tend to do well. And that's just my 2 cents worth. Well, guys, I'm gonna wind this up. And John, thank you so much for spending time. I know you're really, really busy. Chungking is one of the top facilities in New York, and I imagine that it was kind of difficult to scrape out a couple of minutes for us, but we really do appreciate that. And thank you so much, my friend. You know what, John? I'm going to give you the last word. What do you want to say?
I'm going to see you out in LA in a couple weeks because I got to come out. I'm doing a little bit of electronic work with somebody, and I hope to come by and see you.
Great. All right, guys. We'll see you next week on Into the Lair. Bye-bye.
Third Eye Blind, Fuel, Depeche Mode. The resume is insane. We welcome to our desk somebody who shares some Detroit heritage with us that we didn't realize until just a few seconds ago.
Yeah.
Ben Grosse, nice to see you. Welcome.
Great to be here,
Ben,
guys.
How are you, man?
What's up, man?
I'm good.
Good.
Thank you for
good.
having me.
Good.
Oh man, I'm glad you can make it. You've done quite a few records that I've always liked and kind of been keeping up with your careers probably since about the mid '90s. You know, when you moved out here, when '94, '93.
I moved out here part-time in 94, but full-time I moved my studio from Detroit out here in 97.
Oh, okay. And you made some records with the Nero brothers back in Vintage King days in Detroit, right?
Before they had Vintage King, they had a band called Second Self, and I mixed their record.
Yeah, that's right.
We go way back.
Was the drummer
Jeff Folks.
Jeff, the
Yep.
red-haired cat? Well, he's red-haired now.
Jeffrey,
Jeff still works with them, I think.
Ehrenberg.
No.
Oh, that's a
It's a
different
different
Jeff. Okay. Well, so they align their drummers by name. Because Jeff used to drum with them too.
Oh,
so
he
there's
did?
this Jeff and another Jeff. Anyways.
Well, they call that Jeff Shaky.
Oh, okay.
I'd make a Spinal Tap joke, but nobody knows Spinal Tap anymore, right? Hey, man, you know, you pretty much, in order to mix a song and produce a song, you pretty much need to start with a good song and good performances. And a couple of other people have said that in the past, but I started thinking about that, and it really does make all the difference in the world, doesn't it?
It certainly does to me. I like to make a comparison to anything in music to the film world.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a crappy script, you can make
Bad
it look
movie.
great, but it's going to be boring. You'll have beautiful people saying something nobody wants to hear, and I think a song is very similar to that.
I do too. I thought Gene Simmons said it eloquently. I met him a long time ago, right my first year here, remember her? And I used the old line about polishing a turd, and he's like, oh yeah, but you can always spray paint it gold and roll it in glitter. So sometimes we use a lot of glitter, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Bob Horn told me to ask you about the sex dolls that you have at your studio that have become kind of a fixture there and part of the staff. You still have those, or are you going to retire them?
The last one just left a week ago. It was time to
Put it away.
Well, it's time to set the record straight because I was going to try and embarrass him, but the man's unflappable. Explain what we're talking about. Our audience doesn't like inside jokes.
I did a record for a band that the lead singer was the creator of a very famous sex doll, and he gave me a few as a thank you gift for doing.
Was that your fee?
No.
Okay, good.
But wait, but it was a thank you. But recently, I did a mix for him, and we were going to do a sex doll as the fee. But he's such a good guy, and it's so much fun. But in the end, we didn't do that. Right?
Got it.
I heard they're like $5,000 or something.
At the very least.
Wow. What'd you do with the
a
last
lot of
one?
money.
No, I'm just I was just gonna go check it out. Sorry.
If we had talked about this a few weeks ago, you could have had it.
Damn, it could be sitting here and be our third
Right.
host.
Could mark this chair.
I know exactly.
A couple of friends of mine just said it's creepy. It was so real. They said I'm going to run over and hang out at Ben's place real soon. He has a place called the Mix Room, which is clearly one of the best mix facilities in town. Very
It's
good
my
reputation.
favorite. I'm biased.
Very cool.
You got a great reputation, but I guess I missed her. Did you name her?
No, but I think on the website she was named Stacy. So she was a specific model. But she was in the corner of the entryway of the studio, and when you went around the corner and you went around fast, it seemed like somebody was there, and everybody would walk around and go, ah, Stacy, and then realize that
Stacy scared me.
Stacy was inanimate.
I think I would have liked her.
I love this story, by the way. I think that it shows our audience that sometimes you're not going to be successful because maybe you don't think like this. But when you were going to the audio school in Detroit, you actually told the staff there that you wanted to take every course twice so you would be more likely to remember the information. And did you literally take every course twice?
Well, I took the advanced course twice. There was the beginning course and the advanced course, and then when I was done with the advanced course, you were done. And this was going way back, and I wanted to be around all that great gear. Nowadays, nobody cares about that, but back then, microphones, consoles, 2-inch tape rolling, it was heaven. So I paid for the advanced class twice,
They gave you a discount, though, right?
They did give me a discount, if I remember correctly, but it really made a difference because going back a second time, I knew everything, or I knew at least the basic course material, and I could just relax and learn by doing. And it was a great experience.
And you were making straight A's at the time. It wasn't like
I guess I was.
your professor said your teacher said you were making straight A's. You're a drummer. In the mix process, you like to start with the drums. What advantage, if any, do you feel that gives you?
For me, just from being a drummer, that's how I start because I play the drums and get the drums where I want. But it's a very fleeting task because you can get the drums to sound great, and if you just then start putting everything on top, all of a sudden the drums don't work right. But as a starting point, I will either start with the drums and get them where I'm at least comfortable and then start building a foundation, or I'll just put the drums up, start with the vocal, but still have the drums in there as long as the drums play a part in the song. They're not just incidental.
I kind of start with the drums a lot too, if it's kind of a rhythmic component to the song. I've been on a little bit of a tiny mini mission to try and get people to get better guitar sounds. The people that don't do rock records, I don't like their guitar sounds a lot of times because they sound kind of corny. From a drum perspective, what are some, let's call them shortcomings that you see a lot from a perspective of a real drummer? Does it bother you when you hear patterns that can't be played by real people?
That really doesn't bother me. It bothers me when patterns can't be played by real people and they don't work in the track. I don't mind sort of hyper reality. I think that's sort of, again, you're making movies, you're not making a documentary, so whatever it takes. But I just think with that sort of freedom to play whatever you want to play, whether a human can play it or not, you just get all sorts of abstract crap that doesn't necessarily work or doesn't serve the song.
Could actually take away from it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. It doesn't bother me to hear things that a real person couldn't play, but sometimes the choice of sounds bothers me when somebody's trying to emulate a real sounding drum kit. Just go buy the slate drums. I mean, you're 99% there, so it's not that hard to do. One of my favorite records that you've done recently is the Starset record, My Demons. Did you use a sample on the snare drum on that mix?
I did, but the guy that produced the track, I just mixed that track. The guy that produced it, Rob Graves, is one of my favorite producers and really did a great job with giving me good tracks. So I always try and blend real drums with samples, and I was able to use some of his sounds. And sometimes samples are used for just intensity to keep things in your face. But yeah, I would say that record is a combination of samples and live drums.
Cool.
You're definitely hearing ambience from live drums.
Okay. It sounded like the snare had almost a gated kind of compressed room sound to it. Was that part of the overhead mics, or was that a sample that, especially sometimes, it feels like sometimes when the snare will go, and then sometimes it goes,
You're listening too closely.
That's what I do for a living.
I know.
Well, if you call this a living, right, that's what I pay to do.
Right, exactly. We're musical philanthropists.
Exactly.
No, you know what? That record is really a difficult record to mix, and you killed it. I mean,
Thank you.
It's very hard, but I like listening as just an average person, and then if I know someone's going to be on the show, I'll go back and listen to some things more closely that I like. I don't want to be that guy, but I do get in the crack sometimes, just because of what we do for a living.
Of course.
You know? But it caught my ear because it was so cool. Please tell me I'm right.
You are right. Well, I think, are we talking about the snare?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll set up a lot of my favorite samples. That some I've made, some I've stolen, some I've maybe a Slate sample. His are awesome. And I'll just sort of have them at the ready, and I'll just sort of play them like instruments and see what I like. Maybe in some spots, push up some, push down some. But I have a few samples of that have that sort of sound to their nature, where they're and they cut off. And then when you mix room mics in there, you can sort of control the decay by the natural decay of the room or the hard stop of the sample.
I tell you what, that record's on the charts right now, isn't it?
It's on the rock charts, yeah. It's not even out yet. It's coming out in 2 weeks.
Oh, cool.
Wow. You guys need to check this record out, and I'll tell you why. Whatever type of music you like, there's something to be learned from this mix and this record and this group. I'm a big fan of theirs, and Ben just hit a home run with this. It's a little mini textbook, this song. The vocal effects on the lead vocal are a little different than what I tend to hear in that type of song. Was anything unique that you did about those?
I can't really remember, but I mean, I have a sort of standard go-to setup, and then I'll add or subtract based on that, but I can't really remember specifically.
It felt like a plate reverb and a little chorus, not chorus, but a little harmonizer, a little delay, but it was very tasteful.
I'll tell you what I do, I always do for vocals, and I've done this forever. I like to have a couple of PCM 42 lexicon delays at the ready. Those are my favorite. I don't know why, they just always work and they always sound good. And then I leave 2 or 3 Eventide units or a multi-effects unit that I reserve at the end for vocals, because as I mix, I end up using all my toys for everything else, and then when it comes to really dialing in the vocal, everything's all used up. Much less so now that we're all in the plug-in world, but I'll have a couple of PCMs, I'll have some of those Eventide multi-effects units, and then I'll just play with it and add. I might put a little bit of real or fake tape slap on there too. I think I did a little bit of that. And I will certainly play with a lot of compression, because that can change the ambient sound of anything, but especially a vocal.
That's cool. Just a curiosity question on the PCM 42s. Do you use the ×2 button, or to get it a little grainy, or do you keep it at full bandwidth?
I generally keep it at full bandwidth unless I'm doing long, filtered, weird delays. But sometimes I'll use the ×2. But in general, I keep it on the full bandwidth.
As a with such impeccable rock pedigree, is there any proportional kind of perspective you have about plug-in versus analog?
No,
You embrace what works.
I think it's just more tools at our disposal. I'm going more and more towards plugins as equipment breaks, and as you can't get stuff. Plugins are great because you have a relatively unlimited amount. But that said, there are things that plugins simulate fairly well but don't duplicate.
No question.
And part of my sound and part of what I've learned over the years just by doing it so many times is that certain pieces of gear do something and
just doesn't get better than that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another thing, I hate to beat this record to death, but please bear with me because I love this record. One of the hardest things, and perhaps you guys that are watching haven't thought about this, but this is going to be a lengthy question, so you can take a break.
I'll be back in a few
We'll
minutes.
go have lunch.
There's certain elements in the mix process that contribute certain emotional feelings and certain amounts of energy, and the world that Ben lives in, the guitars are everything in terms of determining genre, determining the energy, the credibility, all of those things. But on this particular record, the synthesizers have to have a certain space too. And the hardest thing as a mixer is to take rock guitars and edgy, mid-rangey synthesizers and make them coexist. And you did it masterfully. Did you struggle with that, or did it just come easy?
On a lot of work that I do, and I get a lot of this work, there's a lot of parts that need to be layered and figured out. And on that record, there's also an orchestra.
Right.
So you combine the orchestra, the edgy synths, heavy guitars, and the thunder of the bass and drums. I just sort of do what seems to work for me and what works for the song. But that song, those melodic elements were really important, so I had to find a spot where they worked.
You were teasing me the other day about liking metaphors, so I'm going to give you a metaphor. It's like
You're the
spaghetti.
king of metaphors.
It's like spaghetti sauce, Herb, with chicken sausage, prosciutto, chicken, pepperonis, ground beef, all in the same sauce, and he made it taste great.
Because I was about to be sick.
That was pretty horrible, wasn't it, Herb?
I don't know. I'm
All right. I got a standard to
I'm
let
hungry
down.
now.
Okay, I'm going to save us. Listen, the Stone Temple Pilots record, Blackheart, that's a really cool song, too.
Thank you.
There's a couple of things that that I like what you do. You always put, and the reason I'm bringing this up is not to be critical in any way, but to show our audience that sometimes right is not necessarily right. And it feels to me like you put your basses on every mix about a dB, half a dB, a little louder than they should be.
Especially when the bass player is telling me what to do in the mix.
Right there.
and paying for it. But it feels like you tend to like that. And I like that about your records because I like full spectrum 20 to 20K records. And on this song, it really is it's a hip hop bass sound that you got in this damn thing. What was the chain on that to get it so fat?
Well, those guys are masters at what they do. So the tracks were very interesting. And before we get into the technical side of it, that song, the bass plays such an important part. And It's actually doing melody, not just holding a low end down. So there's that space for the bass to poke through. Sure. Chain-wise, if I remember correctly, I think I'm adding a little bit of SansAmp, an analog SansAmp, just sort of parallel. I get a grindy sound, bring it up. I'm smashing it to bits with an 1176 and a little bit of SSL console. And I might use a little bit of Avalon EQ to grind it out a little more, very smooth EQ, because everything else is kind of harsh that I'm doing, and that's pretty much it.
The SansAmp, the little black box with the little dip switches?
I'm using the PSA, whatever, the Chrome one.
When I was listening to that song about a couple of months ago, I'm always curious about how other engineers solve the conundrum of having the low end of the kick drum audible plus the low end on the bass audible. And you created a problem for yourself because you added low end to the bass. Now you got to figure out how to make the kick come through with low end. Do you remember how you made those two compatible and live happily together in the sauce?
I don't remember specifically because I think I mixed that over a year ago, but I know that on a kick drum, if I've got the kick right, I've got a big hole in the low mids. And
of the kick itself?
Of the kick, yeah, and the bass can live in that spot, and there's just a friendly place that both can coexist.
I'm going to take a little side trip here, Herb. I think somebody needs to pass a law that we define what mid, low mid, high mid.
You gonna write me a ticket?
I don't know, but for me, I'm just going to clarify because I get confused with these things sometimes. Low mid, would you say you're talking about like 400?
No, I'm talking the high end of the bass area when I say low mid. I'm talking about 200 hertz, 150 hertz, right there, which is still considered bass, but in the grand.
I'm not being a smartass, even though I'm totally capable at any moment.
Please be a smartass.
But where would you say when you use the word low, where would that start for you?
That would start in the 100 hertz area, but I mean, there's sort of a leeway here when we're talking about kick and bass issues. I'm saying low mid in that area. If we're talking about guitars, the low mid would change for me. We would be up in the 500 to 1,000, or low mid. We would be in the 500 area.
Well, while we're grinding this to a complete halt, where would you say high end starts? 5K?
At the annoying.
Did he call me annoying?
No,
I think he did.
He implied something. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
I would say,
Judges? Okay, hey, they say yes.
I'm overruled.
I would say a little lower than that. I would say where it starts getting piercing. That's where high end starts for me.
Okay.
But what do I know? I just turn the knob until it works.
And then just do what I do. We make this up as we go along. It's totally acceptable.
Don't tell everybody.
But we should standardize that somehow, some way, because it's one of the few methods we have to communicate with each other sometimes.
Well, would you rather I say the frequency number whenever we're talking? That wouldn't be fun.
I like low mid. I think if I had a band, I'd call them the low mids. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah. Cool.
Your cymbals, sometimes I get cymbals that are strident, and I don't know whether.
Now, is strident high mid, or would that be?
Is there a frequency that's
strident for me is 2.5 to upper fours, 4.791. But
okay.
There's a couple of things I struggle with sometimes, and live cymbals that aren't recorded to my standards that might have inexpensive mics on them. I have trouble with that piercingness when they hit, but I want the cymbals to be there because that's where my groove is, and that's where that makes it a rock song. Otherwise, with recorded cymbals, it's a different vibe. And I've noticed on all your mixes and your productions, you have this smooth thing to your cymbals. Are you killing some 10K and then emphasizing some 8K? Is that what you're doing?
I can't hear cymbals anyway. I just bring the young guys in and tell them to move the fader.
That's right.
I, out of habit and being a drummer, I just get the cymbals as quiet as possible until I can feel the drums. Then I start bringing the cymbals in and doing a little bit of EQ. I might take out some high mids. I might not. Again, it depends how they're recorded.
High mids, 300. I'm missing with
All right, you got me. Yeah, I take out the 300 in cymbals. It really helps.
Herb, you can save me anytime you want.
I'm gonna let this horse just collapse on its own because it's failing.
This is going to shock a lot of people. In fact, I hope it shocks a lot of people. I really like the band Disturbed, and 10,000 Fists, that's a good record too. Can we talk about that one?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
One of the things that I notice that non-rock guitar playing engineers tend to struggle with is the width on rock guitars. And on that record, it's a textbook sound. It has that extra top end that I like my metal records to have on the guitar. And they occupy two, 3 zip codes. They're that wide. I know that as a producer, you like to stack some of the guitars sometimes.
Right.
How else can a guy that's just starting out learning how to do rock guitars get that width and that sound without making it too buzzy?
Well, on that record, I was the mixer on that record. That record was not layered. That was maybe 2 guitars and 2 guitars playing the rhythm and 1 up the middle doing some rhythm element. But it wasn't, when I'm producing, sometimes I like to really stack guitars if I'm going for that. The Disturbed record, that one was not like that.
I liked it though. It had a clarity to it.
The guitars were recorded well, and that was a lot of, and I know I'm going to say this word and you're going to go stop saying that, but that was Neve 1073s and SSL console EQ. Just turn it till it works.
The high end is a function of the top knob on a 73?
The mid-range, but up in the top.
Oh, okay.
There's on those things, there's 3K you can notch or 1.5 or whatever the frequency is. There's a real sweet spot depending on how the guitar is recorded that works really well.
And are you doing anything for the width, or is it just a function of the doubling?
That record was done a while ago, but I will sometimes, on records that aren't stacked, I will sometimes blend in a little bit of stereo pitch shift or something, and I might have done that gently on that record.
Like 3 or 4 cents up on one side, 3 or 4 cents down on
or
the
even,
other?
or a little more than that.
Oh, more than that, like 8?
Yeah, maybe. It just depends.
Your unit of a choice.
Not cents, but what's the other measurement? I'm blanking out, but maybe it is. Maybe it's.
I think it's cents. Like an H3000.
Yeah, that type
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cool. If you, I'm gonna ask you this question because you're the perfect person to answer it in terms of guitar sounds. Not being a guitar player, we're like in micro increments of shades when we get our tone. I mean, our tone for us is as important as the note. And from your perspective, what would you say the main distinction is between a tone that you would use on, let's say, an edgy rock record as opposed to a tone you would use on a very modern metal record? Because metal's getting brighter and brighter and brighter and more low end, and the rock guys are still hanging around the 60s sound.
I think a lot of it is the source. On rock records, you'll use Marshalls, maybe some of the boutique amps, Bogners, Diesels, whatever. On some of the metal or new metal records, it's more preamps and rack units and sort of amp simulators that drive that sound, and you can really get a hyper-realistic sound driving that.
If I throw like a mini batter's box at you for guitar pedals, do you think you could answer that?
I'll try.
What would your go-to guitar pedal be for metal type distortion?
I have an old Big Muff with a built-in compressor that is
And we're past the dolls. We're talking plug-in. We're talking pedals now. Go ahead.
Oh, God. I'm going to avoid the big mouth thing. I heard it coming. As soon as you said it, I knew what to expect.
That was good, though.
It was. I just got out of the way. It was, yeah.
We rehearsed this before.
Okay, cool. And you did it very well.
By the way, that's a Jimi Hendrix pedal and well known for Hendrix.
This one it's a Big Muff Deluxe that's got a compressor side to it that just grinds it out in a certain way.
You're giving me more straight lines, but I'm going to let it go.
I'm avoiding this. Like, I have so many of them.
By the way, we're under censorship from the FCC, so we got to be careful.
Really?
No, not really.
I have a ton of pedals, and I just like to bring a basket of them out and try things. It really just depends on what amp is being used and what we're going for. There's not really a go-to pedal.
Well, let's do this. Let's tee up Batter's Box.
Okay.
And get that going.
Okay.
Brian has our brand new graphic that he
I can't wait to see it.
There. Oh, can you feel it? There's the ball. They're running the bases. Now, tee it up.
You need to get out more. 2 in the morning.
After the awards,
Just get out. Go to the club or something, man.
Exactly. I just did Chongor at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's my life now. Fire away there.
Bass.
I will always try and have an SVT around if I can, and I like
810s?
Yep, I love 810s, and on the SVTs I like the ones with the graphic EQs on them, so I can oink it out if I want to. Like the SVT2 is one of my favorites. I love those.
Let me remind you, this is about brevity. Snare.
Yes,
I'm doing you a favor.
like 'em.
I've never won one of these, and I'm trying to help you.
All right,
Now, be patient with me. Snares.
I like snares. Yeah.
Oh man, I quit now.
Yeah, this is
Let's go home. I mean, what can I do? You know.
He ripped that.
I know, but I did it. I did it.
Strategically. Like a magician.
You want to try snares again? Or you want to move on?
Move on.
Move on.
You were going to say some Neve shit.
Probably.
Lead vocals.
Lead vocals, I have an old Neumann Tube 47 that I go to all the time, but depending on the singer, I like a Telefunken 251. Sometimes I even like a 57. I'll mix that with a 47 or the Telefunken, and the combination gives me something. Again, it depends on who's singing. Sometimes I'll just do
Here again, brevity. Kick.
D112 and something else in there is usually my go-to. If I'm in a studio that I haven't worked at, I will tell the assistant to put a D12 in and something else, surprise me and don't tell me what it is.
Okay.
Oh,
I do
cool.
that too. I like that.
And then I'll put it up, and sometimes it works great, sometimes it sounds like shit.
Overheads?
It depends on the room I'm recording in, but I like anything that sounds airy. If a studio has a pair of C12s, love it. If there's 451s around, those are fine too. I just, as long as I can make the cymbals shine and not get too much in there, it's fine.
Keep them from being strident. Stereo
Unless
bass.
it's a trident, then it would be.
Trident can get strident.
A strident trident.
Right.
Stereo bass.
For the mix, I love the SSL compressor that's on the console, and I will blend that sometimes with a Focusrite Red or a Neve 32-260-64 or whatever's around, but those are my go-to boxes.
Reverb.
Don't use a lot of reverb. But one I do. One of my favorites is the old Clark Technique DN780. I have a stack of those,
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
and I love those.
Good one. Good one.
Yeah.
Skip that one. Skip that one. That one.
I feel like David Letterman.
Your island piece of gear. One piece of gear you can take to an island with you.
Assuming there's a power generator there.
Assuming that.
Shure 57.
What are you going to do with a power generator and a Short 57?
Hammer some, build a house with it? I don't know.
Your favorite piece of gear, or let's rephrase that. What piece of gear under $200 did you use on a high-profile record?
Besides Shure 57s, I like to mix with pedals. I've got Ibanez tube screamers going that I can feed things
green
to.
one?
And I use the RNC compressor, which I believe is under $200, and I use both of those all the time.
Man, I haven't heard that in a long time. That's a good. I forgot about how
kicking
good
it back.
that is.
Wow.
That's a good compressor. Real neat compressor.
Real nice compressor.
Real nice compressor. RNC.
RNC. Very cool.
Really
Herb,
nice
I think it's a
compressor.
tie.
Slight lean toward him, and I'll tell you why. We've never seen an athlete use humor in a way to distract a pitcher. So, you know what I mean? Like, he was batting balls back just right by your head, but you were laughing thinking it was a joke, and he was screaming them at you. So
But the referees came down on him twice. That means
they
something.
did,
Right?
and that got it close to a tie, but slight lean. You're almost there, man.
I
Maybe
like
next
the
week.
RNC. The RNC is
RNC was good, and had some things have not been mentioned on the show in any episode.
That's
so
true.
that's
But I
big.
did save him from going down that Neve lane on one thing. I can't remember what it was. You were heading down. You were going to say Neves. I know you were.
You really didn't ask me about my chains of anything, or at least I didn't answer, so you didn't hear any needs.
Well, we talked a little bit about that during the show.
Well, let's.
I got one more question, real quick.
Sure.
Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Damn.
Let me ask a question. While
Go
you're
ahead,
doing
go ahead.
that. Is there a hat you prefer, producer versus engineer versus, or is it just two different skill sets when you?
These days, I'm either producing or mixing, and I've
Yeah.
been doing so much more mixing just because it's, from a business standpoint, it's a better gig.
Yep.
That I produce for the love of it, but I mix to make a living.
Yep.
When I spend a lot of time mixing, I get lonely and
Mm-hmm.
then want to work with bands again. And then when I spend time working with bands, I want to be lonely
the hell
again.
away from 'em. Right,
exactly.
right,
so
right.
I just try not to get too burnt out, and I like them both.
Good info for our audience for sure.
On the Disturbed record, 10,000 Fists, is there a programmed hi-hat going on in that song anywhere? It's like you left the click track in some spots or something.
Oops. I don't remember,
No.
but there were some programmed elements in some of the songs.
I heard it. I love it. It was really, really, really. I'm telling you, Herb, and you guys at home, some of these records we're talking about at this point in time, you might not be able to get a lot of information from Ben and I discussing these records, but there's so many records I could have chosen from Ben that I like. I picked these because I felt they'd be instructive for you guys. So please, please, please go to Spotify and check these records out. I think the Starset record might not be out yet. It might be. I know Vivo has it. I know YouTube has it. But you can really learn a lot by going and listening to those records, rewinding the show, and watching what Ben said. Because I learned something just having him in front of us today, and I know you can too. I know it sounds like I'm ending the show, but I just wanted to get that
Let's
in.
introduce Mr. Late Night himself, Chongor Gans. Chongor, how are you?
Doing pretty
Put that on
good.
eBay.
Thank you. I will do that. Absolutely. So, Chongor, you look reasonably refreshed given the hour that you left my domicile.
Yeah, about 2:30 around there.
Yeah, somewhere around there. And you got some questions for our guests?
Yeah, let's get it going. This first one's from Zoran Mendonça. All of your mixes tend to have amazing depth and clarity, but at the same time, a huge in-your-face sound.
I said that. Go ahead. Sorry, John. Didn't mean to mess with you. Damn.
How do you go about achieving this balance?
I think that what you just described is the goal of every mixer on every mix. You want to basically make it sound good.
Mm-hmm.
I like to envision mixes like HD TV where I can see everything clearly, but there's a lot of impact. So I like to think that I can hit that out of the park on every mix, but I can't. But I strive for exactly what you just listed right there.
The saddest thing that Ben and I do is when we hear things in our head and the information we're given isn't quite enough to execute that vision. It's like, it sounds like you hear the mix in your head the way you want it to be once you sit down with the reference mix.
It's really frustrating because when I start a mix, and sometimes I know it's going to be a long mix, but I know what I want it to sound like, and I just wish I could flick a switch and just be there and not like spend all that time getting to that point, because
Yeah.
sometimes you don't get to that point. But
Can you be too wide?
yes, but I think sometimes the real answer to that is that you can lose sight of what the song is trying to do or be successful at it if the song is really all about the singer. Like a great example of that is that first Alanis Morissette record that was so huge. If you
Jagged
listen,
Little Pill.
yeah, if you listen to that record and you take the vocals away, I mean, it sounds okay, but there's nothing that's distinct. She's what's distinct. If that record sounded big and wide and full and had impact and was punchy, I don't think it would have worked.
Good point.
And sometimes I get that way and have to sit back and go, all right, I just have to kind of regroup a little bit and get to the heart of what this song is really trying to do.
Good point. Excellent
Hey,
point.
Chongor.
Yep.
With that little hipster curl you got working on your head now, give us another.
Yeah, I think
give
it's
us
time
another
for a
question.
Of course, having a rough day.
This next one's
Oh, whoa, Chong boy.
Go ahead, Chongor.
Nice
Give us
quaff.
last one.
This next one's from Rough Mix. On the Love and Death album, there are distorted interjecting vocal parts. What are your go-to plugins or hardware that you turn to when you want to drive something in a unique way?
I love our audience.
Again, I'll use a SansAmp, or sometimes I use a SansAmp plugin, or I'll use the Tube Screamer, or what is the? I'm just drawing a mental blank on the distortion plugin, but there's a distortion plugin I use a lot, and that works in those cases. I think the vocal distortions plugins work really well. That's something that you can find a few that works, have your settings saved, and just bam, go to them when you need to.
Bass and vocals just love distortion.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Oh, about time.
I know, exactly. If you are not doing anything next Saturday on the 28th, we would love to have you as a guest at our Pensado Awards.
Please, yeah.
That would be great. And I meant to say this before, but I think what you guys are doing here, yes, with the awards, but also with this, is really admirable, and nobody else is doing it, and it's great. There's no sense of community with us, and I think this is going a long way to bring that.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Well,
That's-
thanks to guys like you. We
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
And we hear that, and it's really because of guys like you, and it's just been an exercise that as we enter our fourth year, about midway through our fourth year, has been stunning in terms of response. So we couldn't do it without you. When Dave called me and said, I got him, he was all enthusiastic. So, we tend to stalk our guests, but you don't know it till afterwards. So, thank you for
Well,
gracing us.
you guys have done your homework. I will say that.
We've been doing it for a minute, and we'd love to have you back. And we do a lot of live stuff around the country, and if teaching or educating or sharing your information with other people would like to join us, we'd love to have you.
I'm your man.
Cool. Then the stalking will continue.
Please.
And before you take us home, our buddy Joe Barisi, right?
Yeah, Joe.
So he has these events, and how often does he do them?
You know, I think with Joe, it's just whenever he feels like it.
Okay.
But he grabs a couple of people, very, very personal. It's very intensive. You know, Joe's an intensive guy.
Yeah, he is.
And it's one-on-one. It's no fluff. It's just very
Is it
concentrated.
Pro Sound Workshop? Is that what they call it? Or?
Yeah, prosoundworkshop.com.
Okay, that's where you can go get information.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
It's like eating a teaspoon of instant cocoa instead of putting it in the milk. It's not diluted. It's just straight cocoa, man.
Well, only one issue with it. For the next 2 months, you can't do another food metaphor ever. So-
Just kick me under the table. I'm not that intelligent, and metaphors just kind of help me organize the world in a way that makes sense to me.
and confuses
By the
rest-
way-
and confuses the people you're talking to. So.
One of my favorite poets, A. Houseman, said, "Alone and afraid in a world I never made." That's me. I have no clue what's going on in the real world.
So support our friend Joe. He's always there for us. It's a good thing. David P., take us home.
Guys, I was just sitting here thinking, a lot of times I learn a lot from the guests. A lot of times I learn a little bit. But one of the things I always take home from every guest is when there's something that I do and I wasn't too sure about it and the guest says they use it, that confirmation is worth money in the bank. It's that confirmation that somebody that I admire does something similar to me. That's as much of a learning experience as the techniques and all the little things they share. So pay attention to that as you cruise through this episode again after you listen to some of these songs we've been talking about. And guys, thanks for hanging with us. And we'll see you next week along with the 28th. Bye-bye.